Today we're going to talk about how we're going to go ahead and interact with the world and our player. And we're going to do that with an interaction controller, which is just a collider that we're going to be adding to the player. So this is going to be used for things like picking up an item or talking to an NPC or even going on to use a save point. Before we move on to that, let's go ahead and take a really quick look at our player, because I think that it's important that we see what our player is actually composed of. I'm going to go ahead into combatants and go ahead and pull out the brown pants prefab. So on the prefab, it looks like we just have the animation, the legacy animation here. We can see all of them. We don't have Mechanim because this is only legacy rigged. And we do have a character controller on it. So basically, if you were to set up your own player to start off with, you would really just need your either legacy animation controller or your Mechanim controller, and then you're going to need a character controller. We're not going to be using a rigid body. Let's go ahead and get rid of that now. We're looking at it. Before we interact with anything, we're going to need some sort of feedback. So let's go ahead and create a new GUI box. Go back into the framework. Let's head to menus and GUI boxes. Let's copy this box and name it something else. Let's call this one bottom dialogue. Okay, height adjustment, it's going to be set to scroll. We're going to change the bounds. So now we have 0, 800 for the Y, 1280, 300. Let's anchor this one to the lower left. The name box settings are found a little bit beneath that. The bounds are going to be 0, 0, and then it's going to be 200 wide, and we're going to keep the height at 50. Also, anchored in the lower left, relative bounds are true, and it's going to be relative to the upper left. We'll save the settings. We're going to need a dialogue event. We're going to go to the event section, and we have a new game event that we're making. So let's just click to make sure that we are going to be creating it in the category of new game event. So with this block, the default one that comes up, we want to make sure that this is a blocking event. And if you're like me and you wondered what that meant when you first saw it, it just is an event that only one blocking event can happen at a time. It's just going to be restricting the player controller and the camera. We don't want our player to be able to move whenever this event, which is going to be a dialogue GUI popping up. We need to add an event actor, and that needs to be the player. We're going to add to the event by clicking Add UI Dialogue, Show Dialogue. With this event box selected, Show Dialogue, let's go ahead and make sure that the bottom dialogue GUI box is going to be the one that's used, the one we just created. Enable Use Speaker, because that means that the only thing we've added was the player. He's going to be the one speaking. Show the name. Now we're going to take the message. There we go. We're going to save the event in the events folder. We're going to name it simple dialogue. Finally, we're going to add the dialogue event in the town scene. So we need to go ahead and go to the town scene. We're here in the town scene. Now we're going to add a prefab. Tutorial resources, the NPCs. We're going to pick NPC green. There's not really a way to rotate him, I guess. There kinda is, but there it is. It's kind of like origin is way over here. Well, let's just not do that right now. So here's the NPC. We're going to add another event component like we had done on the empty game object in the last video. So let's go ahead and add an event interaction. And now, if you remember, here are the two events we've created so far. We're going to be using simple dialogue. Click OK. The start type is going to be interact. We're just going to go ahead and turn to the player, and the event will also turn the event to the player and the player to the event. And that's all there is to that. Let's save it. Now we need to make sure that we go back to our scene, which is main menu. Let's push play and see what happens. Here I am, and here's the NPC. Let's do a click. Hi, this is a simple dialogue. There's my name at the top, so it worked. Okay, the next lesson we're going to go ahead and just talk about how we transition to scenes, back and forth.